Good morning, You Can Heal family. Welcome back to another reading of the Old Testament First Kings. I'm a little late, but it's still in the 7 o'clock hour. So we're going to read our Bible together this morning. So as you know, my daughter Blessing is off to college now, and it was fun being with her yesterday. She didn't cry, and I didn't cry either. She talked to her last night, and she might be calling me in a little bit. So if she calls while I'm reading, I'm going to have to take that call. I'm going to take that call live, and I'm going to talk to Blessing. So we'll see. We'll see if she calls. So today we're reading the Old Testament. We're in the book of First Kings. My name is Shena. If this is your first time coming on live or watching a video of mine, we've been reading through the Old Testament. We finished the entire New Testament, so you can check out that playlist. And now we're in the book of First Kings. And today we're going to read chapter 11. And it should be a good one. I guess Solomon is intermarrying. We already know he's married to Pharaoh's daughter, which, my goodness, out of all the people you would pick Pharaoh's daughter after the Israelites got out of Egypt. I just found that so interesting. So that's what we're about. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to go for God right quick. We're going to get started. So it says, intermarriage with foreign women causes worship of idols. Now King Solomon loved many foreign women. Besides Pharaoh's daughter, he married women from Moab, Ammon, Edom, Sidon, and from among the Hittites. The Lord had clearly instructed his people not to intermarry with those nations, because the women they married would lead them to worship their gods. Yet Solomon insisted on loving them anyway. He had 700 wives and 300 concubines. That is so much to manage. That's how they did it back then. And sure enough, they led his heart away from the Lord. See, there's a lot of interracial marriages and relationships, and that's fine. But I think the Lord's, when he's saying don't intermarry, like we've got to be evenly yoked, because if you're not married to a believer and you are one, they can lead you away from the Lord. So that's got to be, if you're a believer, a top priority, to make sure that that person you're choosing is serving God, serving the Lord. It says, in Solomon's old age, they turned his heart to worship their gods instead of trusting only in the Lord his God, as his father David had done. Solomon worshipped Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonians, and Molech. Hi, Coach Jessica. We're a little late today, and I knew you would be faithful and show up here. I just knew you were waiting, so we're together. All right. It says, thus Solomon did what was evil in the Lord's sight. He refused to follow the Lord completely, as his father David had done. On the Mount of Olives, east of Jerusalem, he even built a shrine for Chemosh, the detestable god of Moab, and another for Molech, the detestable god of the Amorites. Solomon built such shrines for all his foreign wives to use for burning incense and sacrificing their gods. Okay, you're getting dressed for work. That's good. Another thing, like, not only did he intermarry, but now he's doing things for them that they are into, so that's got me thinking that happens if you get yoked with an unbeliever. You're going to start doing things that they do that aren't lined up with God's plan. This is very dangerous, very dangerous. The next section says the rebuke of God. The Lord was very angry with Solomon, for his heart had turned away from the Lord, the God of Israel, who had appeared to him twice. He had warned Solomon specifically about worshiping other gods, but Solomon did not listen to the Lord's command. Has God ever told you something and you've directly gone away from it and done the opposite? I know I have done that. Like, how many times when I was in a relationship did I say, I'm not going to, do that hanky panky? And I did it, and I would feel so awful after, because it's not right. Like, the Lord's called you to something higher. So we've got to stand firm and take a stand for Christ. Good morning, Lisa. All right. He had warned Solomon specifically about worshiping other gods, but Solomon did not listen to the Lord's command. So now the Lord said to him, since you have not kept my covenant and have disobeyed my laws, I will surely tear the kingdom away from you and give it to one of your servants. But for the sake of your father David, I will not do this while you are still alive. Oh, gosh, God loved David, and David was a man after God's own heart. So Solomon's going to get in trouble, but after David passes. So I think that's interesting too. I will take the kingdom away from your son, and even so, I will let him be king of one tribe for the sake of my servant David and for the sake of Jerusalem, my chosen city. The next section, the chastisement of God. It says in verse 14, then the Lord raised up Hadad the Edomite, a member of Edom's royal family, to be an enemy against Solomon. Years before, David had gone to Edom with Joab, his army commander, to bury some Israelites who died in battle. Yeah, I remember that story. While there, the Israelite army had killed nearly every male in Edom. Joab and the army had stayed there for 6 months, killing them. But Hadad and a few of his father's royal officials had fled. Hadad was a very small child at the time. They escaped from Midian and went to Paran, where others joined them. Then they traveled to Egypt and went to Pharaoh, who gave them a home, food, and some land. Pharaoh grew very fond of Hadad, and he gave him a wife, the sister of Queen Tahpenes. She bore him a son, Genubath, who was brought up in Pharaoh's palace among Pharaoh's own sons. So now this is a lot of names here, but I guess they all point back to the Hadad, who was raised up, the Edomite, who was the Edomite that was raised up. Getting confused. Verse 21 says, when the news reached Hadad in Egypt that David was his commander, Joab were both dead. 1 minute. Sorry. Let me just start verse 21 over. When the news reached Hadad in Egypt that David and his commander Joab were both dead, he said to Pharaoh, let me return to my own country. Why? Pharaoh asked him. What do you lack here? Have we disappointed you that you want to go home? Nothing is wrong, he replied, but even so, I must return home. I'm just looking down at the commentary. It says Solomon politically motivated. His marriages were politically motivated. Left him with foreign wives who adversely affected his faith. He gradually shifted from an exclusive monotheism to the worship of many gods, although he probably still recognized the Lord as supreme. Well, he was trying to live in two different worlds. You can't do that. Either you're going to pick God or live in the world, You got to choose this day who we're going to serve. As for me and my house, we're serving the Lord over here. Who are you picking? Poor Solomon. He was just all caught up. But yeah, as you're getting dressed, with Jessica and Lisa, you're starting your day. Let's choose God today. Let's recognize him and bring him in. If you got a meeting, you're doing a client, bring God in. Bring God in into your day. All right. Let's turn the page and see how much is up. It says here in verse 23, God also raised up Rezin, son of Eliadah, to be an enemy against Solomon. Rezon had fled from his master, King Hadadezer of Soab and had become the leader of a gang of rebels. After David conquered Hadadezer, Rezin and his men fled to Damascus, where he became king. Rezin was Israel's bitter enemy for the rest of Solomon's reign, and he made trouble, just as Hadad did. Rezin hated Israel intensely and continued to reign in Aram. Another rebel leader was Jeroboam, son of Nebat, one of Solomon's own officials. Ooh. He came from the city of Zeradah in Ephraim, and his mother was Zeruhu, a widow. This is the story behind his rebellion. Solomon was rebuilding the Milo and repairing the walls of the city of his father David. Jeroboam was a very capable young man, and when Solomon saw how industrious he was, he put him in charge of the labor force from the tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh. One day, as Jeroboam was leaving Jerusalem, the prophet Ahijah from Shiloh met him on the road wearing a new cloak. The two of them were alone in a field, and Ahijah took the new cloak he was wearing and tore it into 12 pieces. Now, why did he do that? Then he said to Jeroboam, "Take 10 of these pieces, for this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. I'm about to tear the kingdom from the hand of Solomon, and I will give 10 of the tribes to you. But I will leave him one tribe for the sake of my servant David and for the sake of Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel." For Solomon had abandoned me and worshipped Ashtoreth, the gods of the Sidonians, Chemosh, the god of Moab, and Molech, the god of the Ammonites. He has not followed my ways and done what is pleasing in my sight. He has not obeyed my laws and regulations as his father David did. But I will not take the entire kingdom from Solomon at this time. For the sake of my servant David, the one whom I chose and who obeyed my commands and laws, I will let Solomon reign for the rest of his life. Now, who is talking here? One day was leaving, and the prophet from Shiloh met him. Okay, the prophet from Shiloh was giving the message of the Lord here. Verse 35 says, "But I will take the kingdom away from his son and give 10 of the tribes to you. His son will have one tribe, so that the descendants of David, my servant, will continue to reign in Jerusalem, the city I have chosen to be the place for my name. And I will place you on the throne of Israel, and you will rule over all that your heart desires. If you listen to what I tell you and follow my ways and do whatever I consider to be right, and if you obey my laws and commands, as my servant David did, then I will always be with you. I will establish an enduring dynasty for you, as I did for David, and I will give Israel to you. But I will punish the descendants of David because of Solomon's sin, though not forever." Solomon tried to kill Jeroboam, but he fled to King Shishak of Egypt and stayed there until Solomon died. So he didn't like this message. So Jeroboam was leaving Jerusalem. So the prophet Ahijah from Shiloh gave this message to Jeroboam. So I guess that's why Solomon tried to kill him. The death of Solomon. Oh, Solomon's dying already, and we're only in chapter 11. The death of Solomon. The rest of the events in Solomon's reign, including his wisdom, are recorded in the book of the Acts of Solomon. Solomon ruled in Jerusalem over all Israel for 40 years. When Solomon died, he was buried in the city of his father David. Then his son Rehoboam became the next king. Well, it seems like after intermarrying all those wives, he was done. Oh, gosh. I don't know, y'all. We just better listen. Just listen to what the Bible says, and let's do our best to follow along, right? Let's not get sucked into, I don't know, other people's, what am I trying to say? If we've decided that we're going to live for God and we're decided that we're going to be Christians, I don't want to say you can't be friends with non-believers, because certainly you can, but you just have to be careful, because it's so easy. I always use that analogy I heard years ago from John Corson. If you're on a stool, it's easier to get pulled down off the stool than for you to try to pull someone up on that bar, on that, those stools with like the little circle top and the legs. It's very hard to pull someone up to join you on that stool. It's much easier for them to pull you off. So just keep one eye open and just be wise and be careful. When we're around, I didn't realize Solomon died so early, because this chapter has, I think, 24, or this book has 23 chapters. So I don't know what the rest of the book's about, but we'll find out tomorrow. We'll find out tomorrow. So I hope you guys have a good day planned. I've got to get Brent some kind of device where she can text me, because our ballet classes are going to be 4 hours, 3 days a week. And she might need her mom, and I gotta finish retwisting her hair. I was tired last night, and it was like 1 o'clock and I still wasn't done. So I'll do that today and work on some other things. So I hope you have a really good day. I'm gonna have the Jesus calling for you at noon, so look out for that. And that's that, you guys. I hope you ladies have a great Friday and weekend. Yep. You too, Coach Jessica. You're doing great with hearing the word. I always know you're going to be there. You've been on a roll. If we go back, you're probably 30 days straight. And I know Lisa's always listening too. So you guys are doing a great job. And listen, we're going to know each other really good, because we're going to finish this whole Old Testament. I am called to it, and I am going to complete the assignment. All right. If God's assigned you to do something, get it done. All right. She says, yay and thank you. I love that. All right, guys. I love you. Always remember, true healing begins with self-love. Why? Because God is love, and He certainly lives on the inside of you. Bye.